Hi, I'm Joe DiOrio. Vote for me because I'm the candidate.
I got some campaign money for you, honey. Today we're doing the political movie The Candidate from 1972. And it's about a California lawyer, Bill McKay, played by Robert Redford, who fights for the little man. His charisma and integrity get him noticed by the Democratic Party machine, and he is persuaded to run for the Senate against an apparently unassailable incumbent. It's agreed he can handle on his own terms, but once he's in the race and his prospects begin to improve, the deal starts to change. And this film is rumored to be based on the political career of Senator John V. Tunney, Democrat from California.
For The Candidate, we're pairing with The Old Pal, a classic no-nonsense cocktail that reflects the political landscape of the 1970s. The name speaks to that good old boy political vibe with a drink in hand where deals are made and integrity and morals are lost. While the combination of the Rye Whiskey, dry vermouth, and Campari mirrors the sophistication of the California political landscape, just like Bill McKay in his campaign for the Senate. We have a 1/2 ounce rye whiskey. These are 3/4 ounce dry vermouth and 1/4 ounce of Campari. Cocktails.
And we're extremely refined.
Cheers to the winner.
Here we go. Oh my God, it sounds too strong for me.
Ooh, The Old Pal. Come on.
Oh my God.
A lot of backstopping with this one.
Oh.
I take my glasses off.
I'll
for
eat
that.
the orange. That's it. I don't even want the orange dipped in it. We're filming in this beautiful, gorgeous courtroom in Elizabeth, New Jersey.
Hear, hear.
And it's City Hall because we're doing political films because, of course, there is somebody coming into office in January, and we thought it lent to the theme of the January month. So, Joe, you want to tell us something more about it?
Yeah, you know, here at the Real Watchlist Plus, we want to thank the City of Elizabeth and especially Mayor Christian Bolich for allowing us to use this beautiful city council chambers. There's such history behind the city and this building, and your support gave us the perfect backdrop, adding depth and authenticity to our production. We couldn't have done it without you. Thank you, Mayor Bolich, for preserving such a gem and sharing it with us. Stay tuned, everyone. There's more to come on the Real Watchlist Plus.
Okay, so Joe, we're going to start off. We have like our way so people know when we're going to do something. So the first thing we're going to do is, because we disagree or agree, let's vote.
I'm ready. Let's do the countdown. However, before this, audience, if you're listening on the podcast or you're watching us, we're like 30 feet away from each other on this huge, beautiful table.
It's like Cinderfella, classic film. Jerry Lewis, Cinderfella. Remember the long shot where he was one end of the table and he had to run down the whole way to wait on somebody?
King Henry VIII and Marie Antoinette and like candelabras.
I gotta watch that, Joe. I might be beheaded. King Henry VIII. I might be in the Tower of London.
You will be if you don't get your stuff together.
But Joe, you're gonna have to talk loud because I can barely hear you.
Well, Madam Chairwoman, Speaker of the House, I want to complain because we're ready to vote. I'm going to be yelling in order for you to hear. So are you ready?
Especially, I have to say, since he's an ex-politician, he's going to know more about this than I do. So he's going to swamp me, toast me, kill me. And Joe's thing is going to be the most infinitesimal, bizarre thing he ever asked me. So I know nothing. And that makes him feel superior, and he can glow in bed at night looking at the ceiling that he swamped me.
Oh, are you done?
Yeah, I'm finally done.
So we have the paddles ready to flip?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, flip. Ooh,
wow. You know, we're starting to think alike. This is not a good thing.
This is scary, folks, from being a former politician myself. But I will say, I want to put it out there first. So my score is a 7.5. Debbie, your score is?
My score is a 7, and I have no artwork, but I know those are stars. You finally got it so I can see their stars.
So Debbie, you're correct. I used to be a politician. I was a councilman. I campaigned in 1989 with this flyer, this trifold flyer. Now, if you see this audience, you could tell my hair is the 1989, 1990s.
And look at it, it's all like, all opens up and everything. It's very elaborate.
And this was like advanced for this time period. Like we used computers to actually make this thing up.
What year was it again, Joe?
1989. And I have the poof hair and the sinister mustache. And I actually won, folks. Could you believe it? I ran for council and I won. And this is why I really liked this film from a political perspective, from a candidate, from a political junkie that I am. As such, I would have voted and gave it a 10. But for the regular, everyday person, especially with some of the deficiencies I'll talk about later, I had to vote it down to a 7.5.
Okay, you want to know why I voted it a 7? Well, I saw this in the movies. Like most of the stuff we talk about, I saw these things in the movies because I'm 1,000 years old. But in any event, when I saw it initially, I really wasn't, you know, you're in the mode of Robert Redford. Back in the day, the way we were, Butch Cassidy, all that stuff. He's the pretty golden boy, Great Gatsby. So, and the age I saw this, I didn't even care about politics at all. I just didn't care. So a lot of it was like boring to me. But watching it now, and of course we watch it with a critic's eye, and I had never ever criticized this movie because I wasn't a critic back then, I don't think. I don't know, who knows. But in any event, now with the political climate of America and being older, I watch politics as everybody has over the past probably 12 years maybe. So it is very succinct to the time period now. I mean, really, to watch this now, you're going to get a hell of a lot more out of it than when the movie was made. But back then, the people that were older, maybe our parents, probably saw everything in it that we're seeing in this thing now.
Right. So the story sets off with Bill McKay, and he is an advocate, he's an attorney, he helps the regular, everyday man and woman, families, whether they're poor, whether it's environmental issues. I mean, it takes place in California, so he's talking about sort of a trend of a change to more of a liberal stance. Ronald Reagan was the governor back then, and the two United States senators were Democrats. So you had that political divide, that shift that was occurring at the same time. So here he's idealistic but smart, and he doesn't like politics. But political operatives, political consultants that are watching, they are greedy for any candidate that might have some name recognition or that might have a chance of winning. Now, he was approached by a political consultant whose name is...
Well, Marvin Lucas.
He was approached by Marvin Lucas, who was played by...
Peter Boyle.
Thank you, Peter Boyle. We're going to talk about them later, but he was approached by a political consultant. He noticed Bill McKay in an article, and he goes, wait a minute, this guy looks good.
Right.
He is the son of a governor for California.
That's the main reason, the name, Joe. I think that's why they went after him.
Right, and he's going against an incumbent that's been there for over a decade. And when he approaches Bill, Bill's like, are you kidding me? I don't even vote. I'm not even registered, which threw me through a loop because your father was in office and you weren't even registered. So right off the bat, that told me there was, and it's kind of like a disagreement between him and his dad. Sort
Little
of, they were
rebel.
Constrained.
Yeah, he was a rebel in a way.
Yeah, he was just not liking politics. But after much talking, and the political consultant woos him by saying, you know what, we need someone. The guy who's representing you, he doesn't do anything for California. He doesn't do anything for the issues that are important to you. You see that pause in his thinking. And then his wife says, yeah, you should run. And I can't tell you from my experience how many times a candidate, when they want to run for office, there's two key things to try to convince them. One, tell them something that motivates them to run. So maybe it's an issue with the schools, maybe it's an issue with kids.
Something that's akin to their psyche.
Exactly, and something that the person that's currently in office is maybe not doing or not doing right. And secondly, getting your partner's or spouse's support. I can't tell you how many candidates have gone down the tubes because their wife or husband are not on board.
Can I interject something too? Do I need this? Or now, can I just ask you very...
You can hammer the gavel,
okay.
Yes.
His wife, when you talked about his wife, she gets on the glam train because she starts to see all the attention you get. You go to restaurants, you do this, you do that. And magazine articles. So she becomes, like Mrs. Whatever.
Right.
And I think that's another thing that bothers him, because he has those innate values of what he thinks he wants to do, but the wife is looking at it like, oh boy, this is pretty cool. I think I like this, which I think disturbs him a bit.
And he goes from the situation where he's now considering it, and the only way he considered it was when the political consultant gives him a matchbook. And he writes, you lose. He's gonna lose. Don't worry about it. Do it just to get out there and put the issues out there, the issues that are important to you. And he commits, the consultant commits. You want to talk about abortion, you want to talk about healthcare, you want to talk about poverty, racial issues, go ahead. Now, keep in mind, this is 1970s, early 1970s, where those issues are probably more of a hot button issue then than now.
I was surprised about the abortion. When I looked at it, I said, wow, they were talking about it back then. We were like oblivious, running around, whatever, partying back then. I didn't know what was going on.
So step one, he has to run in a primary. So those issues that he wants to talk about work perfectly in a primary. He's got name recognition, it stands in line with the party's platforms, and he was able to win the primary. Next step is to run in the general. Of course, now the political consultant is like, you need to soften up on a few things, and he's like, well, wait a minute, you were gonna, I'm going to lose. What does it matter? Well, you don't want to lose by a landslide. You don't want to be creamed at the polls. We have to start positioning. And then you see this evolution of Bill McKay, from someone who's an advocate, who's strong on his opinions, to someone who is kind of going to the center, like a lot of our politicians do nowadays, to get the general electorate votes.
They get caught up in the machine.
And all of a sudden, things start to change. And there's this one great scene that I like. It was later on in the film, where there's the debate between him and Bill McKay. So notable in politics is that if you have an incumbent that's there for decades, let's say, and you're a new person, the strategy is, as the incumbent, don't even notice them, don't even pay attention to them. All of a sudden, Bill McKay's opponent, it's like, this guy's starting to get some headway. They're looking at polls constantly. They're looking at TV. They get a TV campaign person to come on in to dress him up. He tells them automatically, cut your hair, no beard, we don't wear beards, and we're gonna straighten you up. They have the debate, and the debate is basically a bunch of all words, nothing of substance, and Bill McKay is now torn. And he's on camera. This is live TV at the time.
Yeah.
And there's this great back and forth towards the end. I just want to cite this because I thought it was so great. Crocker Jarman, who's the incumbent, says, I believe in America. I believe our greatest moment is yet to come. Thank you. And the moderator says, okay, Mr. McKay, you now have 1 minute to sum it up. And McKay doesn't respond because he's now realizing all of what he's saying is not him. He's changing into the person he doesn't want to be. He's changing into the person that his father had changed into. And then he kind of snaps. He starts off in the beginning, and I think it's important to note what subjects we haven't discussed. We've completely ignored the fact that this is a society divided in fear, hatred, and violence. In politics, when someone goofs by saying a word like violence, all of a sudden
the fear factor
comes in.
The vote, yeah.
And Crocker Jarman jumps on it. He said, he goes about saying that I never dreamed my opponent would stoop to encouraging violence. And McKay's like, well, that's not what I said. And then all of a sudden, cut, the moderator ends the scene. The political consultant, his media consultant, is going apeshit. He just went off script, is what political consultants do. And of course, the main political consultant, wait a minute, don't confront him. We don't want to upset him at this point. We're getting better in the polls. We're going in the right direction. But at that point, you see McKay is now realizing he's not that same person. He can't say what he wants to say. He can't feel what he wants to feel. He can't go after and say those issues that he feels are important to the state of California. And it just sort of to me, it was so poignant because that's what happens. Political consultants care less about the candidate.
No, they just want to win.
They just want to win. They want to get some bucks. And at the end of the day, it's not about what's good. It's about what's good for their pockets.
Well, the one thing I wanted to say that was really interesting before we go, because we got to tell them about our costumes, but I love in the beginning when there's a politician and they work for Robert Redford, they go to work for him, but they're working for another candidate who loses. And they're all drinking, they're all partying, they don't give a damn. And the guy that lost is like his family sitting there, everything is sad. And they say in the background, nice guy, but he never had a chance. They knew it all along, and they didn't even care, because their job is to create that machine. But, and they move on, and the candidate's destroyed, but they go on because they were looked at running a good campaign.
At the end, spoiler alert, folks.
Yeah, I know what you're gonna say.
He actually realizes he's won. The night before, he's looking at his matchbook, reminding himself that he's gonna lose, so it really doesn't matter, you know, no matter how bad he feels about himself. Polls come in, things are happening, and his father approaches him, sits down. Son, you're a politician. And that just floors him. You can see Bill McKay's face goes dead blank, almost like he's a shell now. He's just a shell for everyone else to tell him what to do. As the winning candidate, and I know how this feels because I've been in this situation, you go into a crowded room and it's like almost like the parting of the seas. Everyone wants to shake your hand now. Everyone wants to shake your hand because you're the winner. Of course, when you're the loser, you look back like, where'd you go? All of a sudden they disappear. As he's being dragged through the hallway, escorted by his political consultant, Marvin Lucas, and he wants to talk to him. You know, Bill wants to say something. They jump into this room. Marvin turns to him, and Bill's like just distraught. He's in like a zombie mode. And he says, "What do we do now?"
Marvin, what do we do now?
And the movie ends.
Well, that's what I wanted to talk about, because everybody's all this hilarity that he's won. And Robert Redford himself, you know, has his one foot in the ring, but not really two, because he didn't get what he wanted. But just that line, which is a great way, it shows his disillusionment and his fear about the future. Because what do they do now? He's like, he didn't plan to win, and he won, and what do they want him to do? How are they going to manipulate him? How are they going to twist him into a pretzel to get what they want? The party wants.
And it shows the complete 180 from the person that was an advocate, was speaking on behalf of the little person, whether they were poor, whether they were Black, Hispanic, whether they had issues with the environment. And now he's asking them what to do.
Right,
in the
but
beginning,
I think they're
telling
going to
them,
end up butting heads, because another reason to cast Redford is even the fact that he isn't that forthright or wild about, you know, his views. He's a strong presence. And I think that in the future, he's in, but he's got how many years? 4 years to be in? Well, I think there's going to be some headbutting, so we can only think about what would happen. But then again, the party's awful strong.
The consultants are ready to move on. It's like, okay, don't ask me. I'm on my way to the next candidate.
Right.
So he's at a loss. He doesn't know what to do.
Right.
He's not going to listen to his father. His wife is enjoying the high life now. He's got the, you know, now she's, you know, the
all
senator's
glammed
wife.
up. I think she's going to do an article in Vanity Fair or something, and that's like the epitome back then, Vanity Fair, you know, because you get like pages of spread pictures. All right, let's do our costumes. Go.
Okay, so I am the candidate, folks. I am the one who wants to earn your trust and your votes, and who knows what I'm going to do later on down the line. So I have my 1989 vote for DiOrio and my ballot number. I have my button when I ran for mayor in 1994, elect Joe DiOrio mayor. I also have I'm proud to be an American button, I voted today button, and my FBI button.
Well, please, you know, I mean, I didn't run for office, that's for sure. I just really never paid much about politics, but I did have this sweater because I love 4th of July, even though in 4th of July you don't wear a heavy sweater, but I love the sweater. This is I decorate every holiday like crazy in my house, so this is our 4th of July tree. And I have a flag that Mr. DiOrio gave me as we walked in. And these earrings I've had since the 1970s. I think after today I might have to retire them because they're all wibbly wobbly. But this is it, I'm red, white, and blue.